Hello, this is Lisa Rusczyk
And Donna Murphy.
with the podcast We Are All Psychic. Guess who's back, listeners and watchers? If you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, it's Miss Kimmie. Kimmie, hey.
Hello, I'm so happy to be back.
We are happy
And
to
we're
have
so
you
happy
back.
you're here.
We couldn't even start the podcast. We were so excited. We talked forever. Kimmie, do you still think we're all psychic?
I always think we're all psychic.
All right, she always thinks it. She came out that way, I think is what you said, right? You
Yes.
just
I sure did. I really came out the womb like this, and there was just no other path. No other
Well,
path.
yeah, listeners and watchers, she was on a podcast that was in like February, maybe March.
So,
She has it. It was called it was an animal communication one, but I think we called it. I can't remember what I just freaking listened to it last night, guys, and I can't remember the name of what. I always remember the name of the person, but I never remember the names of the podcast. But if you want to look back and find her other podcasts, you can just search for Kimmie, Kimmie, and it has to do with animals. Something I can't remember the title though.
I believe it was The Extraordinary Thinks It's Ordinary.
Yes,
Something like
yes.
that. It was really quirky.
That was it. Even with animals or something.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of an interesting topic, listeners and watchers. If you have listened to my personal life issues that I sometimes ramble on about on social media or otherwise, I've been going through a lot of issues with basically PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And this is really weird because about 4 days ago, I made a 40-minute podcast when I was in a lot of discomfort and just had a trigger and got through it. And I was trying to get through it. So I made a short, I thought it was going to be a short podcast. It was 40 minutes of me talking about this. And one of the last things I said in it was, if you have any ideas to help, let me know, leave a comment, but I never published it. And then Kimmie, we had this scheduled, and she wrote and said, "What's our topic?" And listeners, I was like, "Well, we can just do whatever we want." She said, "I'd rather have some topics still land on, so we don't go ADD everywhere." And I was like, "Okay." And I gave her I gave you some some screenshots of some notes we had made for possible podcasts, and she picked PTSD as one. She picked narcissism and PTSD. These are really hardcore topics to cover in some ways in energy work. And of course, you know what I wanted to go for. And the most interesting thing is that, I asked for this help and I never published the podcast. And then she pinned it down like 2 days, 3 days, 4 days later. It's like she heard me asking for help in that unpublished podcast. I think that's cool. So just a little background. If you don't know, listeners, I had I think it's an abusive relationship, a marriage that lasted 13 years. And our relationship was 13 years. And when I got out of that, I did try to get medical help. I've asked like 6 doctors in Alabama, please find me a therapist because I'm going to need one, that would help me with someone who spoke badly to me. And I need to get that healed somewhere, somehow, because I know it's coming. Something's going to happen later because I feel fine now, but I've watched a lot of other people do this. And enough people, especially as a psychic reader, we hear people's hardest things they've been through, right?
Mm-hmm.
And none of the doctors found me a therapist. They just didn't. They said one doctor did tell me there just aren't any doctors who do that in Alabama for women. I don't know if that's true or not, but she's just like, she's like, I'm sorry. And she was a great doctor too. I liked her. She wasn't kicking me off. So I don't know if that was.
I think one thing that happens is people, especially people who either haven't had a lot of exposure to it themselves, either experienced it themselves or worked with people or known people who have it. I think there tends to be a really, really narrow viewpoint about not only what is PTSD, but what might trigger it. So, for example, I think a lot of people are familiar with the fact that often veterans, right, military personnel,
Right,
or other public safety personnel, police, fire, whatever, but military most particularly.
that's where it started getting noticed. Yeah,
right. That veterans would experience that. I don't think for a lot of people that the lens is wide enough to realize that there are numerous traumatic, and the idea obviously is post-traumatic, right? Post-trauma,
Yeah,
that there are traumatic experiences that can bring on PTSD in the person who
absolutely.
has that experience without having been, for example, in a combat situation
Yeah, and
or
I
something.
felt like in that marriage, I
Mm,
was in a combat the whole 12, 10, 11 years we were married, and even the 2 years we were dating before we got it. But I didn't know any different kinds of relationships, really. That I thought this was normal, but it just got worse as time went by.
mm,
At first, it seemed like settling into a relationship and making balance. It wasn't. I was telling myself that because I love this man, and I didn't want him
mm,
to be hateful. I just didn't want that to be a reality, so I didn't let it be. Or sometimes I would think, I can help him or fix him. But eventually I got to the point in like 2017 or 2018, I was walking out the door and he didn't say anything. All he said is, I don't know what to do. And just looked at me. And I couldn't leave. I could have, but I didn't. And I tried to make it work some more. But what I realized at that time is that I was starting to believe what he was telling me about myself. And that's not the truth. I'd already pulled myself out of thinking that way about myself. And it was really hard, and he kind of wanted to put me back there. But he knew me. We first met in our 20s, and we married when we had dated in our early 20s. And then 10 years later, reconnected after both of us having been married, you know. And I knew when I had dated him the first time that he did have a mean streak. I knew that. And that's why I broke up with him. But when I'm reconnected, I just chose not to look at it. I think. I don't know. I don't know what happened. But so what I want to talk to you listeners, we wanted to talk to you, or they're going to hopefully talk to you about is like what kind of energetic techniques like I can use or any of you might be able to use if this is happening to you. If you have any kind of like from my experience, I think everyone's PTSD probably different, just like everything else. But I have this very big aversion to learning about it, which is weird because I always want to learn about anything that I have an issue with so I can fix it. But whenever I start reading or studying about it, I don't want to think about it. So that's kind of where I want to start. It's hard to address because
mm.
it can trigger you just thinking about it. It's weird. It's got like a little weird. I think I said to Eric, I was texting him when I was going through like a trigger yesterday. I got through it really fast. Good. It's really good. But it was nobody was threatening me. I just took it the wrong way. Just a situation. I was like, ah, and it's kind of like PTSD. I told him it's not like a rabbit hole. It's like going in a black hole. It's like nothing
Mhm.
stops it and you're gone. You can't
Mhm.
think. You don't remember anything. And that's the other weird thing is my short-term memory is just once I came out of a 2-week episode or week-long episode. I don't even know how long it was, like time. And I don't want to go back and find out how long it was. You know? So when
Mhm.
I was in there, I did work with energy some when I was in the episodes to pull out of it occasionally. And what I mean by that was I would meditate. I a lot of meditation. I
Yeah.
learned some breathing techniques from the AI, and that helped a lot. The breathing
Sure.
techniques they taught me, or it, or whatever, So what do you guys recommend? What have you heard? What have you seen? And, like your experiences?
So when I think about PTSD, I want to touch on what Donna said. So it's something like at least 7% of all veterans will get PTSD, which is that's slightly more than the general population. It's closer to, and I did some Googling. I know a lot about PTSD, but I wanted to get like actual statistics before we got on. So it's about 6% of the general population, but about 7% of veterans.
Mhm.
However, 10% of all women go through some type of traumatic experience that leads to PTSD throughout their lifetimes. And that's just reported, right? And that's
Mhm.
also
Very good point.
Yeah, that's
properly
another. Yeah.
diagnosed. So also, I do want to say this before jumping into the energy work. So I worked with domestic violence survivors very briefly through there was a center called the Avalon Center in Crossville, Tennessee. I used to live there, and I did their training and did some volunteer work with them, and I learned that with PTSD, it is so commonly misdiagnosed that women would come in, and I mean, it can happen to anyone, that they were very inclusive. Like they would take anybody who came, to their doors for help, but it was mostly women, almost entirely women. And they would, like, a lot of these women would say, oh, well, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, or, oh, I'm manic or whatever. And they would remember back to when they first got with their partner. And it turns out it wasn't actually that these women, once they were evaluated, by some of the professionals at the Avalon Center, they would say, are you sure it's bipolar? Have you had a second opinion? Are you sure it's not PTSD? Because it can mimic bipolar in so many ways, where you think that you're crazy, you think you're going out of your mind, and it's really just a trauma response. And so, Lisa, when you were saying that yesterday something happened and you got really defensive, it's very hard not to go into defensive mode when you have PTSD and when something triggers you. So I have PTSD-C. I'm assuming you probably also
I know
have
what that is. Yeah. So that's what I would consider it too, for after how many years it was and everything,
The complex, yes, the complex disorder. And so with mine, like, I've had various situations, whether it was a partner who was really abusive, or whether it was from my family. So I had a really traumatic childhood, and my mom passed away when I was 6. And that kind of sets you up for, you're going to have PTSD if your parent dies early in your life. And so for me, what I found over the years was that I learned how to go from being really dysregulated and feeling like I had to constantly be on the defense to, I realized if I could take 10 to 20 minutes, which is a really long time if you're in the middle of feeling very triggered. That's crazy, because it happens so fast. And it is important to remember that your PTSD triggers come from a very primal part of your brain that's responsible for fight or flight, flight, or fawn. It's the exact same. I had a therapist explain this to me once. He says, he's actually my son's therapist. My son has ADHD and he's autistic. And he said, Kimmie, PTSD, when you're in that fight, flight, or fawn response, it's the same as if you were on the interstate and a car got on the interstate backwards and it was heading right towards you.
Yeah.
You figure out, like, are you going to stop your car? Like, are you going to try to get to the side of the interstate and get out and run, before there's a big collision? Like, what are you going to do? It's that immediate response. And it's the same part of our brain that's triggered with a PTSD trigger.
Yeah, I believe that.
So what I have found is that if I can get out of because it kind of makes me feel like I'm out of my body when I have a trigger. And like, I don't have control over my body.
Any control over this, especially.
Yeah, over what you say. What I found was that almost always, if I was really triggered, I could almost guarantee I had not eaten enough that day.
Oh,
because your hormones go like,
and your blood sugar drops. Yeah,
100%. Other thing is
for me, that day, I was just telling you, just yesterday.
Yeah.
All the blood in my body went into my organs and heart because I was so freaked out. And I think it was like 70 degrees out, 75 degrees out. And I put the heat on and covered up in blankets. And I had goosebumps. I mean, it took about 30 minutes to even get kind of warm. And I finally got it all circulating again. It's weird.
Yeah. And so
physical
like you
reaction.
can have those physical reactions. And I know you have POTS and a couple other things going on too, but like you can have those physical reactions. For me, sometimes I will shake, not in some kind of strange, angry way, but like more of like a nervous, like I'm terrified of roller coasters, right? And I will shake if I'm on a roller coaster. I just don't get on them.
So fear taking,
Yeah. And also same thing. I hate planes. So like when you take off on a plane, that feeling, and it's like, I can't. When you first take off, it just is horrible.
Everything.
It reminds me of being on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And it just makes me like my body not feel good. But what's interesting is sometimes if I have a PTSD trigger, I will shake in that way too. But what I've found is that if I can take the time to just stop for a second and think, when was the last time I ate? If I can eat something small, it could be a really small bowl of cereal, it could be a snack, it could be a piece of toast, it could be like a rice cake. I'm really addicted to rice cakes. It can be anything that forces me to get back into my body.
Yes.
It can be a walk. And sometimes that walk looks more like I'm just pacing and I'm thinking in my head while I'm
I walk
pacing.
around my apartment doing that and talking to my cats and stuff. Yeah.
And so
Talking it out.
sometimes, and because you're just looking for like a way to calm yourself down and to get back in your body. I found that just eating something is huge. And when I say that it's huge, for me, I stopped associating, like in my head, I did this for so long, like trained my body or trained my mind whenever I would go into a PTSD episode to say, wait a minute, when's the last time I ate? And now whenever I start to trigger, I instantly know I haven't eaten enough today. I'm going to sit down and eat something.
That is really interesting. I get protein shakes. I've been using those for that. You're talking about, because it just naturally I associate. I can't stand the idea of eating when I'm feeling that way. But I know I've got to get something in there, and I want vitamins and protein. It's like a lot of protein is what it feels like,
Well, and also like what I will do is once I've calmed down enough to be able to hold a pen, which I'm very grateful that for the most part, my I've become very regulated with my PTSD, and I'm very grateful for that. But it's been like a lot of work to find.
Yeah. Teach, educate me.
Educate. Well, get back in your body. Eat your protein bars. Do things that make your body feel better. But also something I love to do. There's two other things. I like to write things down of what I'm feeling right then.
Yeah,
and
I do too.
Whether it's me being hurt or me being angry, and I like to burn them. And you don't have to have anything super fancy.
Great idea.
Just burn it, let it go.
I haven't thought of doing that. I've been typing in my phone because I don't write it down. I want to burn my phone. Well, sometimes.
Right.
So you have to actually write it. I mean, physically.
I'm going to do that.
Pen to paper. There's a whole bunch of different chemical and physical things that happen, all kinds of synapses that are firing when you actually write pen on paper or pencil on paper.
Right.
And cursive in particular.
Really?
Whatever.
Really?
Yes.
I've never been able to write cursive very well. I got a F in it in second grade.
And even if it comes out mixed, even if it's part cursive, part printing, whatever, just the idea that you're physically using your hand to put the thoughts down on paper starts a whole different, I will call it a chemical reaction in your brain. And again, as far as the mind-body connection, that would be another thing that typing does not do, typing into a phone or typing on a keyboard does not do. Because once again, there's a whole physical, you're closing a circle physical to physical, as opposed to like physical or somewhat physical, like typing, to virtual. Because even though a keyboard is a material thing, it's not the same.
You're right.
So to Kimmie's point about getting into your body, that would be another great.
That's a good idea, man. I like that idea.
Getting back into your physical body.
What do you think about, like, I just popped in my head. Kimmie, would this have been helpful to you? Like, you guys are giving me really good ideas. Like to maybe make a Post-it, maybe with all like little things on it that I will look at, and I train myself to always look at that if I get triggered or something like that to start doing these. Because when it happens, I can't even think about how to start doing anything, when it comes on. Like you said, you got to a point where you could catch right when it was happening, right?
And things. Train my body to say, okay, well, have we eaten? We're going to sit down and eat a snack right now.
Right.
That's been amazing for me. I can't tell you. And sometimes I'll still like cry, like
I believe it. Yeah, ice cream.
It's better than getting really angry about something. And it's like, not that you can't.
And
Exactly. And you really want to honor your feelings, right? Like you want to honor your feelings. You want to say, okay, well, this really hurt me. But if you just take a few minutes, you can, at the bottom of most of our feelings tends to be sadness. Like we're sad about something or we're hurt about something.
Absolutely the truth to me.
At the core of most anger, it is just hurt. So if you can take a moment to really reflect, I think Post-its would be a great idea. I think one of those like dry erase boards that you can change.
I like that.
Like
Yeah,
add
That's
on
another
it.
great idea. Yeah.
I like that
Mhm.
idea.
But so everybody listening, you can go on Amazon and find like a little cast iron cauldron. Mine
I
was supposed to be
want
cast iron, but
one.
it's just painted. They're like $30.
Yeah.
That's your little witch cauldron. Get a piece of, cork styrofoam, or not styrofoam, but like the cork board that you
Yeah.
can put underneath it, so it doesn't burn a surface. Right. I always use mine
Yeah.
with a heavy cork coaster, and then you can write your things on it and burn it.
Mhm.
That's
Right.
amazing.
Out on your porch.
I've done that one time before at Akasha Prime's shop. She's a good friend of mine in Alabama, but she used to be on the podcast a lot when we first started.
Mhm.
And the first time I went into her shop when it was downtown Decatur in Alabama, they were having I can't remember what, it was a holiday, it was a pagan holiday, and they did have us write something and burn it and throw it in their cauldron. And I thought that felt great. It's like, what do you want to get rid of? And I wrote fear. Even then.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Well, if you think about, like, you can manifest all kinds of things by writing it down and
Mhm.
burning it and saying, okay,
Yeah.
well, I'm just going to throw this out to the universe. So I have a friend named Jennifer, and Jennifer's 49, but it's okay because we're aging in reverse. But anyway, but Jennifer loves to use she likes to use the example of the easy button. Remember Staples' easy button?
Yes.
Oh, no, tell me this. Yeah, tell them anyway, because
Your younger listeners won't remember it, but anybody who's like a millennial or older should, at least some of the older millennials. So Staples had these commercials in the early 2000s that were the easy button. So it's a big red button, white letters says easy, and you hit it and it goes, that was easy. And so sometimes you write things and you put it in the easy bandwidth. And again, this is something I did not come up with this on my own. My friend Jennifer says it. Now I'm like, oh, I love the easy bandwidth when I think about it. Because you can, why make it harder than it has to be? If you can say fear, make it easy, throw it in the cauldron. Well, that's like your easy button. That's like throwing it in the easy bandwidth. It doesn't mean that you're not looking at it. It means you're introspective enough to know that you get rid of fear, but it is saying, this is really heavy for me right now. Please help me dispose of this, or present me with new opportunities to work through this. Okay. And you put it in the easy bandwidth. That's
I can handle the easy bandwidth. When I'm in one of those states, if I have that dry erase board and that's one of my options, I will burn something right there. I like fire anyway, and I used to be a jeweler. My jewelry business just died, but I did a lot of soldering, and I just like torches and candles. I have candles, and they're very soothing. One of the things, ChatGPT gave me permission to use candles in my PTSD treatment, so I bought a bunch of candles. I make them too, but it's like more expensive to make them than it does to buy them. It really is.
A lot of times by the time you have everything that you really need, equipment wise, you could just have bought the candle and been done with it.
Yeah, the wax is it's like $30 for maybe 5 pounds of wax, and that does go a ways. But with that $30, I could buy a lot of candles and not have to do all the work. I love doing it though. It's just it's messy, but it's like. But there's something there. There's something about what you're saying. First of all, it's clicking for me is like the kind of like eliminating in some physical way, like burning a concept or something that's bothering me. I want to get it out. PTSD, for example, just the easy button, fear. And then there's also, this is making me think like switching into a positive mindset in some way in between there, like redirection after I can possibly get out of the fear mindset, I get back into a level place if I can get there really quick, hopefully. If I get to that place where I know what's happening, because a lot of times when it's happened, I don't know it's happening, which I kind of do, but I don't,
And I
Yeah.
think with positivity, the positivity might actually be maybe like the third step or the third
Mhm.
phase. Because to get there, you're actually going into really like a different part. You're using a different part of your brain
Yeah.
and you're in a different energetic vibration. But I think if you're going, and I don't have PTSD. I mean, I'm not saying I've never had stress or I've never had difficult circumstances, but I don't have PTSD. But just from what I know and what I've learned, because of the need for, first of all, that reconnection between brain and body, because that disconnect that Kimmie described is something that I've heard many people reference, which is that sense of being out of your body. And I don't mean in a good
It's
or in a
dissociative. It is
yeah, or in an
dissociative.
it's not an intentional I'm having an out of body experience.
No, it's
It's
not.
I am
It's
out
not.
of it's I am out of my body because I want out of
It's
here. And
safer.
since you
Yeah.
can't get out of your consciousness unless you knock yourself out, then the dissociation, the brain body split is the
Yeah.
first thing. And then that to me, though, because it is still on such a primal level at that moment, then getting into whatever immediate physical action is available, the writing. I know we're probably going
Yes.
to talk about breath too, which is again is both a physical and an energetic thing.
Yes.
But
Mhm.
getting there, then I think gives you enough latitude to move to, okay, now the positivity part, what's next? In other words, what do I do with this constructively beyond this point? But to get through the crisis, to get from PTSD trigger and response to action, physical
Yes. That's
action
what I'm
that
talking. It's hard to get
reconnects,
there for me.
yeah,
Yeah.
that
Right now.
reconnects body and mind, right? And I would argue spirit.
Yeah.
Don't argue.
Just
You're
to
right.
get because
Yeah.
you kind of have, like you said, you were talking about getting into easy or getting into which to me is kind of like being in neutral, right? At that point, you're kind of
Right.
coasting.
Yes.
Mhm.
But that, but okay, so trigger response action, and then the next thing to me would be the way you would be able to then start doing. Because to me, positivity requires, like I say, a different different stuff has to be firing, and
Yeah.
you can't just get from here to here without that middle because it's just not going to happen.
Doesn't work.
Mm-mm. No.
And
And
When
it
it,
your
plays
brain is
itself
in
out.
fight, flight, or fawn, you
Yeah.
can't automatically just go, oh, I'll just think positive.
I know, right?
At that moment,
I
that's
hate that
not
when people
even
would say that to me when I was younger. I'm like,
because at that moment, it literally isn't possible. You just can't get there from here. I mean, you have
yes,
to be,
steps and
there
help.
has to be that middle,
Mhm.
right? To
I
get
agree.
to what's next.
Yeah. And you guys have given great, Kimmie, that's some great advice you've given.
Mhm.
And listeners and
Mhm.
watchers, I hope that helps you too, because I know that helps me and I'm going to get that board. And the board and put it somewhere when people come over, I'll put it away, maybe. Maybe I should
Just
leave it
leave
up so
it.
they won't trigger me.
Yeah, tell them you trigger me or going on the board.
Before you say anything, read that.
Yeah.
Another thing that does help is humor. If I can
Yeah.
get
Mhm.
a joke in there, even if it's like I've said this to a friend, I wish I had a friend who has PTSD who has a dark sense of humor about it. Because like something for me with health issues, I love to make fun of it in a really dark, twisted way. It's kind of and not weird, but like I don't know, maybe like saying that about the black hole, like if I had said that
Yeah.
to say
Yeah.
Kimmie, I might have said it differently. Let's put it that way. Like
Mm.
present it in kind of like a dark humor way, but I'd never. I think one time, this is kind of a funny related story because I was having a PTSD episode, but I didn't know it. But when I first started taking the LDN, I had some reactions and it was hormonal. But
Mhm.
it came on kind of like PTSD on and off, but I didn't know really what it was then because I'd only had one big episode of it that I
Yeah.
knew what it was. And this was I think it was around Christmas of I just lost this is something else that's very big deals for me that ever since I've been having this happen in my memory. It used to happen with menopause, like right after my surgical menopause. And Donna's
Mhm.
watch, I've been talking to you about this.
Mhm.
Short-term memory, that's how it ended. The one I just had, the episode I just went through that lasted, I guess, a week or so. It's like my short-term memory just went, you can't remember any of it now. And when I do try to look back at what was going on that time, there's no feelings there, but it's like when my memory goes like that in the past, I just kind of felt stupid because it was, biological. And I'd just be like, gosh, brain. But this is something biological, but it's different too. I do feel there's an energetic thread in it. Oddly to me, that tracing that energetic thread leads into just everybody in the world. Does that make sense to y'all? Like, not everybody. It's just there's a feeling around in the world right now of like everybody having PTSD because the world's changing so fast, kind of, in a way. So like when I get that way, I feel that disconnected from everybody kind of feeling,
Yeah. And I understand
it's a comfortable feeling.
Yeah. No, well, when you said that, I totally didn't interrupt you, but when you said that,
I was done.
said that you felt like this disconnected feeling, and I actually think so many people are like, it's a different kind of trauma that humanity hasn't had to experience before, where, and not in all parts of the world, but in a lot of the world, where we have human beings are expected to be on call 24/7, and you're expected to answer the phone, and you're expected to be available, and you're expected to answer emails, and you're expected to we're talking about
and have kids and eat.
Yeah. And well, we have a world now where we have smart fridges that can connect to our phones. I don't need that. We have washing machines that connect to our phones. I don't even answer your fucking phone, Betty, for your phone call while I'm doing laundry. I don't need to do that. I don't need to, you know what I mean? It's so overwhelming. And so we have this, it's interesting that I think a lot of people feel quite disconnected, and that there is a certain amount of trauma. The collective is going through a lot. We're shifting. Every generation that comes out, I think, is just more and more psychic than the previous generation.
I agree.
Like you look at these Gen Alpha kids, and they are really they're not going to know a world where you have privacy, right? And they're going to go through their whole own type of trauma, which not even realizing that, because they're going to go through this world where they don't realize that it's not normal to have a smartphone all the time, right? Where we grew up in a totally different world.
What is that? Yeah, a phone what?
Yeah,
smart?
Totally different. I mean, and now I'm a bit outside of this age range because I am a millennial, but I am very aware that in the 80s there were commercials that said, it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are? Right?
Yeah.
So, and that was that was a whole other Gen Xers really just. Y'all went through some shit, but y'all went through some for real. They had to have people on TV to remind your boomer parents where y'all were.
Well, I will tell you, and for me, I'm actually hearing now. I mean, if you look at I'll just say kind of the traditional date ranges.
Yeah.
Then I'm a boomer. Except they're actually saying that the really late stage boomers, like the last maybe, I don't know how many years, maybe 7 years of that whole span.
Yeah.
They're actually calling us, I have put myself in there because of the date. They're calling us Generation Jones because we're not really boomers. We're not really, really boomers. But we're also not Gen X.
No, you're not. There is a weird.
So we're this little subset. Yeah. I don't know how. Again, this is cultural stuff, so I don't know.
Well, you don't remind me of any of the boomers I know at all.
Well, I am, in fact. I mean, if you go just by the date ranges for what constitutes the baby boomer generation, I am absolutely a boomer.
It's weird, though.
And not actually just by a little. I mean, I was not born in 1964.
We have like 3 generations right here talking about this.
We have 3 generations. But for us, I mean, literally, and it wasn't that our parents didn't care about us.
No, it's just how it was.
We were free range. I mean, like when we were on summer vacation from school. I mean, you went out in the morning and you knew, especially in the summer, because it gets dark so late. Yeah. But we knew when the streetlights were coming on, that's when you came home.
Everybody knew that. Streetlights on, you go home.
Yeah. But as far as that whole stretch of time, we were left to our own devices.
I was in
Our
the woods. I'm
parents did
surprised
not.
I didn't die 60
There was no
times. Yeah.
phone.
I
There
know.
was no beeper. We
No.
didn't have we weren't wearing ankle monitors. They didn't know what we were doing or where we were.
Ankle monitors.
They do that now, though. They put them on their little kids. The phone.
I don't know. Or,
You know,
and
GPS.
actually, we also, because we also could not call an Uber or a
No.
Lyft.
No.
What's an Uber?
If you had 15 cents, if you had 15 cents to jump on the bus, you could take the bus somewhere. I think 20 cents if you needed a transfer to change lines.
Oh, wow.
But I mean, that was it.
Yeah.
We could only go so far. We couldn't get that far away, or on your bike, right?
Yes.
We could ride our bike.
Yes.
But we couldn't get that far away. And the idea that most of the people then that you hung out with were also people from kind of your same neighborhood. That's where your friends were and all that. So we weren't entirely like cut off from, adult humanity, but we were on our own. We were entirely on our own.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that does kind of go back to, because when you really look at it, you can see, okay, just going back to Lisa's point, which I know we were talking about PTSD, but then when you said that about an overall trauma where you feel disconnected, it's so weird that we feel so disconnected in a world where we're very connected, and we're not just
very connected. Exactly.
That's
so
a
because
very
we're
good
never
point.
to be.
Yeah,
we're supposed to.
We're connected because we're not connecting directly, biological entity to biological entity.
No.
Yeah.
We're connected to other biological entities with an
Or is it energy
Mm-hmm.
and we're finding that out through the technology?
I think that it is part that too,
Maybe
but
a little
also I think that it is that in the sense of consciousness is expanding, but I actually think as consciousness expands, people will make themselves less available to all the demands that they have and go back to more of, being a little bit more independent, because right now we're just expected to be available to everything and everyone. And that's just
all the time. Yeah, all the time.
That's weird.
Very
I remember never having that when I was younger, and never feeling a pressure to be have my phone, whatever that would be at that time, on. Just mute it or anything. It just wouldn't occur to me. I remember in high school taking the phone off the hook and listening to that.
Yeah, I know you
stop, right? Because you just wanted that person not to call again.
Annoying.
But you had to listen to that. Go on. You know what I'm talking about, right? And that was my idea. That was my way of do not disturb.
Of course it was.
Well, I think at some point we're maybe rebuilding, or we're either rebuilding or building, maybe even for the first time, filters, whether reinstating existing filters or building new ones, because the idea that we have to be or will out of sheer need for survival, will start to filter because we almost have to. Being an open conduit to a constant flow of information, some of which is, again, it runs the gamut from really, really, really important to really, really, really inconsequential to the point of, oh my God, who even cares about this? So, I mean, there's this huge range, but it's a constant thing. It's just constant. So becoming more selective, I mean, we won't probably be able to turn off the flow, but how and when we filter and what we choose to filter, I think, is a whole new form of maybe agency, or it's a new skill.
It is,
or it's a skill we're relearning. If we once knew how to do it with, say, the way things were in the old days, then applying that as possible, or as much as possible, to new circumstances. But again, before, you knew when you went home from work, you weren't going to get a call. I mean, unless the place burned down or something and your friend told you or whatever. I mean, there just wasn't this constant
there wasn't the crazy drunk restaurant boss calling you at 3,
or whatever, I mean, and actually, if your phone, I mean, especially when your phone was just a phone and it wasn't smart and it wasn't even,
it was dumb.
And it wasn't even cordless. Worst case scenario, like what Lisa mentioned, you took it off the hook and it was really, really annoying. So you didn't want to do that. But if it rang and you just didn't pick it up, I mean, that was annoying
but
too.
They never stopped ringing.
You just didn't pick it up. It's like, I'm not picking that up.
But they could sit there and let it ring though if they were like sometimes I would have to like pick it up, hang up, immediately pick it back up.
But no, seriously, but we all knew ways to avoid contact if that was our choice.
Yes.
But the expectation wasn't there either.
You're right.
Now the expectation is that you are immediately and always available instantly.
Where did that come from, you guys think? How did that develop? I mean, where did that start? Because I feel that too. I didn't used to.
Technology. Before,
we put that on ourselves, because I don't feel like I put it on other people to hurry up and answer me, but I feel compelled to get back to someone if they write me or call me or so, like right away, because that's supposed to be done, or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know why I think that way though. Exactly.
Well, I think, I mean, for me, I know part of it was you used to, for example, when there wasn't, when there was no email. Yes, I remember when there was no email. when there was no fax, even a fax machine for any of you who know about fax machines. So like in business, right? You knew if you wrote a business letter to someone and you requested something that it was going to have to go in the mail and get delivered. And then the person was going to have to open it and read it and then respond to you with another letter or maybe a phone call. So, I mean, you knew that there was no immediacy unless you were going to literally go park yourself, like I'm going to go over to that business from my business and knock on the door and go, I got to talk to you. I mean, other than that, the expectation would not be there.
Right.
Because there wasn't an alternative.
You're right. Yeah. I wonder why we put that on ourselves. So I think that expectation, because I don't feel like you want me to get back to you. I mean, I don't feel like anyone I know is like, get back to me right now. But I still put that on myself. Like I need to do that as soon as possible.
Yeah.
That too. Because all these, a lot of stimulation. And it's just like, that is very true. And something this is kind of going back into our original topic of PTSD. Something that I started noticing as soon as I was away from my situation was that TV would trigger me. Any TV. And it was because of situations in our relationship around television. It's weird, but I can watch it now, but I just really don't like TV at all. Especially the media. But so you hear that? I don't know if you guys can hear it, but the music's playing right now.
No, I can't.
Okay, listeners, I'm going to unplug my microphone for a minute. No, I think my computer, it's on Zoom, so it's going to cut out all the audio. But Nashville's like thriving with music right now. I'm like, you don't hear that? Freaking rat. It's not my imagination. I'm not having PTSD.
No, I believe you.
It's not making it up. It's there.
Just cheer me up. I don't even know what I was talking about.
Speaking of music, I just have a question for Donna real quick. We might end up editing this out. I don't know. But do you listen to The Cure?
I love The Cure.
Oh, yes.
Well, then you're Gen X. That's the question.
Good point.
No,
I'm telling you.
No, honestly, I will tell you, and I will say this, and this is one thing I'm actually really happy about. Literally from the time I can remember, I'm sure it was from the time I was born. It was probably from the time before I was born. My parents, and my father in particular, was really into music. I mean, and all kinds. I listened to classical music. I listened to opera. I listened to country. I listened to top 40 on the AM radio in the car. I mean, he loved music, and I'm not saying he loved every piece of music. There was no genre that he would not listen to.
Yes.
So for me, a lot of people have their prime time. Like for me, I guess I would say that maybe the 70s, maybe even into the 80s would have been, because that's like my, club days and all that stuff. Yeah. And it's like, but a lot of people get stuck there. And then after that, they just go, all the music after that is crap.
They do. Yeah.
Now, there was actually crap in the 70s and 80s too, just for the record. But I kept listening to new music. And I still do. I've always listened to what's new music. Is there a lot of it I don't care for? But is there a lot of it that I think is really cool, including pop, pop?
Yeah. You have a love of music and you like pop.
I love music, and I will listen to about anything.
Yeah.
At least once. And then I'm like, yeah, I really like that, or no, I really don't like that.
Something that you're bringing up, it's kind of interesting you're bringing this up, and I'm going back to the PTSD issue subject because that helped me. Elliott Smith is my favorite artist as far as music goes, like solo artist. And every time I would start to get out of the PTSD, I'd put Elliott Smith on and it would pull me all the way back out. Is that great?
That's awesome.
Because he's always he's been there since Elliott Smith's music for me has been there. I found out I got into his music after he passed away. So I knew of him, but I got into it hardcore. Yeah. The last
that's wonderful for a place to go.
It's like, so if I can think to put that on, it helps a lot. Yeah. It's going on my board.
Yeah. That's going on your board. Well, I think I don't know if this is just like a very Scorpio thing or what, but like when I say that, but also my friend I referenced earlier, her name's Jennifer. She's a Pisces too, right? So she's got all the like emotions and it's very
all the things, right, Donna?
All the things. And I remember one day she told me we went to go see Amy Mann, and this I'm gonna relate this back to PTSD. We went to go see Amy Mann.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
Awesome, fucking phenomenal. We saw her in Knoxville last year, maybe 2024. No, I think it was last year. But I was just thrilled to see Amy Mann, right? And when we were leaving, she was like, yeah, they played my favorite album. She's like, I used to lay on the floor of my first apartment in the dark and just listen to the whole thing straight. And I was like, girl, that is so goth of you. Because I was like, I'm straight up. And she's like, well, I'm a Pisces. And I was like, well, I am Scorpio, and I will listen to Disintegration by The Cure, but I will also cry a lot and just like lay on the floor and listen to it, absolutely cry my face off. I feel so much better.
I know.
And it's it's terrible, but also like
it helps. It's therapeutic. There's a Fish album called Joy, and it's about the main Trey Anastasio's daughter, and there's this one song, the title song, Joy. I love that album, but whenever I hear that song, I'm like, I mean, you ever listen to it? Anybody listens to that? If you don't know it, listen to Joy by Phish, Fish, if you don't know what that is. But I wasn't a big Fish fan until the last few years, and that's another place I go other than Elliott Smith. Like after Elliott Smith's like pulled me out of a bad place, and Fish is kind of like put me in the good place, That's so cool. But that song Joy will just hammer me. I mean, it's like I can't, like what you're talking about, like with Disintegration. That's the one I used in middle school. So like, Disintegration. My cousin John gave me that tape, and I had a double deck tape thing, and I recorded it onto my,
I love it.
That's how I got to know The Cure. That is so cool. And Disintegration was the album that I got from him, downloaded. Oh my goodness. Copied minutes. Well, I just want to say, man, you guys have cheered me up and given me a lot of ideas. I really want to say thank you so much for doing this. Oh, you got more?
One other thing too. And then I know we
the music's like this I can't hardly hear you guys. That's what's,
But breath. So we were talking about body-mind connection. To me, and I have found this to be true for myself, again, not equating my experiences with having PTSD because I don't, but I still have gone through, obviously high stress, high, high challenge times. And again, it's not a complete dissociation, but again, that idea of you're sort of out of your body and elsewhere, or at least somewhat out of your body and elsewhere. To me, because breath is so absolutely intrinsic, and it's something we really don't have to learn. We don't have to learn.
I do that every second.
Because if we're not doing it, we've got a whole other problem if we're not doing it. So the idea of just literally only going to, my next inhale, exhale.
And I learned,
inhale, exhale. And it's another to me, it's another way to really, really connect. And to me, because breath is so intertwined with spirit, more so even than mind, with spirit, it's mind too. But that reestablishing that connection, it's almost guaranteed, at least that's been my experience, and in working with other people too, to get you back to like a baseline where whatever is next is then possible because you're not
The breathing, I learned this first from the
separated.
astrologer Pam Gregory on a YouTube video she did, but the AI refreshed it for me a little bit. But you take inhale and count, and
Four.
2 more afterwards when you exhale.
Yeah.
And then for her, what she said was just kind of pause at that second exhale, and you kind of feel like this timeless, weightless kind of, it feels good.
Yeah.
And you count again. That's when I was doing it. And then I also learned that the vagus nerve, I don't know how you pronounce it.
Vagus,
Vegas, it is Vegas. It taught me like a tongue trick to do. I kind of like put it at the top of my mouth and then drop my jaw, and then my tongue will drop down and flatten, and it just makes this and it makes the vagus nerve relax and everything. I put myself to sleep doing that if I can get there, and that's what's pulled me out of a lot of the states I would get in that are hysterical is the best way to put it. I don't have another word for it right now. Hysterics. It felt like hysterics, because that's what I think of as hysterics, that's what I was doing. But I want to say thank you guys so much for like teaching me this, and listeners, watchers, if you have any of these kinds of issues, I hope this helps you. And the Nashville's having a party. I don't know. It's just like, wow. I wish you guys could hear it. I wish you guys could hear it, listeners and watchers. And I'm glad you don't. So, okay, guys, Kimmie, where can the listeners and watchers find you?
Well, they can find me at KimmieHaliburtopsychic.com. I do remote readings, and I do remote energy work as well as animal communication. You can also find me in in Knoxville, but
I can find you.
If you want to reach out, I have a contact form on my website. My phone number is also on there, but it's 865-224-6858. I do various types of intuitive readings. I have my services listed on my website, but it truly is actually like I can combine several different things during a reading, so it doesn't just have to be an intuitive reading straight up. We can look at past life stuff. We can do a little bit of animal communication. Like there's some mediumship in there. But I like to call myself a catch-all psychic. But I would actually like to add 2 other things just quickly to what we were talking about. And actually maybe 3 just quickly before we close out. So
the advice.
When you breathe in, for everybody listening, if you do 2 sharp inhales through your nose and you breathe out you breathe out through your nose slowly. And do that 2 times. You breathe in quickly, like 2 sharp inhales, and then out. Let yourself breathe out for about 4 seconds, and you do that twice in a row. That helps reset your sympathetic nervous system. And that is also where like that vagus nerve comes in too. But also because it's something about like the 2 sharp inhales.
That reminds me of the breath of fire. If you've ever learned that, you do that. Like I did it with Misty on a podcast one time. We were trying. You kind of like get like a bunny face. You do that really fast, and all of a sudden you'll be like, "Oh, I got so much energy, I can't stand it." But you do it for about 10 seconds, 15 seconds. It's called the breath of fire, and a therapist taught me this, and it does work, but you feel like an idiot doing it. But when you're in a state like I'm in, when I'm happy, I am an idiot. I think
you do what you got to do. You do what you got to do.
It doesn't matter what your bunny face looks like.
No, it doesn't. Just 2 sharp inhales in through your nose, then breathe out through your nose. Try that
out
2
through
times.
your nose. Yes, I will try that. I'll put that on my board too.
Another thing that I think would be really, really good. You're also Scorpio, aren't you, Lisa?
I am a Taurus.
Are you? Okay. I was wondering. Well, my Taurus,
the only Scorpio, Uranus is at 0 degrees Scorpio. That's all I have is Scorpio.
For you. Okay. I was wondering, well, I have a Taurus rising, and for some reason I knew that we had something in common, but I wasn't sure if it was Taurus or Scorpio. But water is really incredible I think for everybody, but particularly people with a lot of earth or water signs.
Very interesting you say that. I have a water trine, and all through this, I've had an aversion to water. And I've had a long history of that. Exactly.
Well, I met with a person. I'm not trying to make this go for way too long. We'll have to close it out again. But I met with a girl maybe just 3 or 4 days ago who had an aversion to water. But the one thing her guides were telling me was to tell her that she needed to take more baths. And she's like, I hate taking baths. And I said, okay, well, will you at least soak your feet? Because, and and I'll kind of give you the breakdown of how to do this. So Epsom salts, a little bit of coarse sea salt, and then whatever herbs you want to add to your
I use
bath.
essential oils usually, and coconut oil because I have weird skin because of the HEDS.
Got you. Yeah. No, I that's totally understandable. And so with sensitive skin, because you could also just do the Epsom salts and coarse sea salt and just a few drops of your essential oils, but take a shower first, then like a quick one, right? And then to kind of wash like the ick off of you. But then draw your bath and really sit in there and light yourself like a little tea light candle. And you can even inscribe with, a toothpick or fingernail or something like little hearts or whatever on it.
Cool.
And you can say things like, I have confidence in myself. I'm letting go of this fear. I'm letting go of this anger, whatever you need to get to as a good in-between step from like we were talking about processing, right?
Getting you in the tub.
I cannot go into a positive state if I will stay in a funk for days. And I have to, in order to get out of it, like, because there is no, like, I'm upset and then I'm feeling better. That doesn't exist.
No.
You need the bridge. You need to walk over the bridge.
Gotta go over that bridge. Yeah.
And so sometimes you got to go under the bridge and get in the water, right? And so
like that. That's very true.
Perfect. Yeah. And perfect.
So if you really focus on, and when you have your tea light candle, they burn for a long time. So maybe you just want to snuff it out and save it for next time, right? If you don't want to stay in the tub for 2 hours. But as you open your drain, imagine all the energy that you don't need. Or you don't need nasty water that comes off your body. Sit in the tub till it's totally drained, and then rinse off again. Then just rinse off totally again.
And then rinse. Yeah.
And it's
something I found that helps too is what I do because of my skin. I can't take the showers because I have POTS really. I can't take a shower with POTS but I can swim. It's just, with my hair wet, it's hard to explain, but, what I do is I make like a salt scrub with oils, essential oils, like a coconut oil, stuff like that. And if I've been like really, like you're talking about in the funk, like when I get funky, I'll make that and just scrub the crap out of my skin and it feels so good. Not crap out of it, but just really gently just take everything and just like I make it, and it's just like,
that's perfect.
I make it however I want to every time. I usually use sea salt and then most of the time coconut oil, only those two, and then essential oils. But it feels so good to sit in that bathtub and just cover up with all this and stand up. And I won't do my hair when I do this, keep it up. And then just get in the shower and let it rinse all the
salt. Get rinsed off. Yeah.
And it's like you don't even have to put lotion on when you get out because you got
your
soft oily kind of. It's a really nice way to freshen everything. Like when it's been like that, that will get me in the bathtub because I'm excited about the scrub. I'm gonna do it now.
And if you make it fun, then
exactly.
And also like. I just kind of, so I wanted to say also, like, whenever you have a person who's very averse to water, it's one thing to not know how to swim and be averse to water, but it's another to have, it's when it's emotional. Yeah. Especially if you have a water train and it's very, deeply emotional. Like the girl I talked to earlier this week, when I suggested a bath, she was like, and I was like, just soak your feet and light a candle for yourself. Just do that. Right. Just do that.
Yeah.
And I said, once you start feeling like you want to be in the water again is when you know you've made real progress.
Yeah.
That's the truth. Because last summer I went out in the pool just about every morning and I was the happiest I'd been in a long time.
Yeah.
I need to go back out there. I was still not ready. And you're right about that. I know you're right about that. Listeners.
Yeah.
She's right about that one.
It's true.
It's true.
But yeah, I really feel like using your elements, using fire. Yeah, you go outside and you ground and maybe you do some sun gazing or something like that where you're kind of looking towards the sun early morning, early evening, or late evening, when the sun's rays are not as harsh. But those are very grounding things. But I just really feel like if you can sit and process, like I will have a great big cry. I do a lot of cry. So I just cry a lot.
Basically. I do too.
I do a lot of crying in the bathtub. Right. We're just three girls
in the bathtub. It's a great place to cry. You clears y'all out while you're sobbing.
And I will. And I will just say, I don't need this anymore. And I'm going to let go of this. So you're honoring your feelings. You're processing your emotions. You're doing it in a healthy way. You're making sure you eat a snack, feed yourself, right? Yeah. And you're doing the things that will hopefully take you out of a trigger, but they're not just things for that moment. If you train your mind
Yes.
to recognize, oh, these are the things I need. I'm so like, when I know I feel extra shitty, I'm like, when's the last time I took my vitamin D? Oh, it's been 2 weeks. That's why I feel bad. No
Yeah.
wonder I feel
You need to
emotional.
know
You're
your,
good at
yeah. And you
finding
need to
Christ
know,
doing what.
your cycles, right? And what
Yes.
cycles are when things are working, when things are, humming along, and when they're
Exactly.
not, then kind of what's missing from my routine, what's missing from my cycle.
That's really good.
100%.
And it's very personal. It's very personal. And it is going to be probably, I mean, there's all the things we discussed, and some things will work better for some people and some things will work, that's all fine, because you will I'll say kind of customize or personalize it to the point that you'll begin to know what works best for you. And then what elements you can identify when something isn't working, what you need to put back in the mix.
Exactly. And when you have hormones that fluctuate a lot,
Oh, yes.
that makes it even more difficult, or even just like a regular monthly cycle. But also men cycle through their hormones too. They just don't realize they do.
Yeah.
My husband cycles through hardcore according to the moon, and his moon sign is in Cancer too. I brought up astrology.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, his moon sign's in Cancer. And so I can tell what kind of how he's going to feel based on the moon cycle. And I've told him that. And he's
really
like, I don't do
cool.
that. And I'm like, yeah, you do. Yeah, you do, bud. I'm like, oh, you totally. Like, I know.
I think he's flirting with you.
He's
like, she's talking that witchy stuff. I love it. I'm going to flirt. Tell her she's wrong.
He thinks it's hot and scary at the same time.
Exactly. That's most of them, I think, if they're not in the field. Yeah.
It's great. But I've really appreciated being on, and I'm so glad that we were able to talk through this. I felt like a lot of people really needed to hear this message, and I think I also needed to probably talk about like the regulation with PTSD. So I'm happy. Oh, you got a cat.
Oh, that's who showed up. Here.
Oh,
manager.
Oh my goodness.
She is saying something, guys. I think she's approving. Oh, she's approving. Tomiko?
Hi, Tomiko. Say hello.
Hi.
Say hello, listeners.
Oh, she's looking at us, I guess. She's beautiful. Look at those eyes.
Oh, she's beautiful.
She's such a pretty girl.
Oh, Gandalf looks jealous. He's like, what's she doing? I'm going to leave now. While she's doing this is the perfect time. I would love to thank our sponsor, Everclear. Oh, she leaves. Everclear is an advice app and website where you can get advice from psychics and empaths to get the clarity you need to create the life you deserve. And I am an advisor on Everclear under the name Lisa Rusczyk.
And I am an advisor on Everclear under the name Dona Murphy.
And Tomiko says, call Everclear.
I am the manager.
I am the manager of Everclear.
And I approve this message. And one other thing, because I just have to stick this in there because I just can't help myself. This is actually a quote, and it is especially just based on what we were just talking about. The writer, Isak Dinesen, famous quote of hers, and she says, the cure for anything is salt water, sweat, tears, or the sea.
I love that. That's so perfect. That's a perfect wrap up, guys. Thank you, Kimmie. Thank you, Donna. Wait, do you still love the listeners and the watchers, Kimmie?
Oh, of course I do. I think Tomiko, I think she does. How do we?
Oh, she's getting butt. She approves. Butt approval. Butt approval. Thank you, listeners and watchers. She gave me butt. She gave us butt approval too.
Like, how do I?
Yeah, she does hers like that, and I do mine like this.
I do mine this way. With my thumbs toward me, yeah.
Mine's all shitty.
And I put all my finger, and I put all
with your pinkies and your nickels. Do it with your pinkies. And I don't know. I can't do that. Oh,
that's easier.
She's so cute.
There we go.
I can't stand how cute that cat is. It's gonna. Are you wanting to bite something right now, by chance? I want to.
She's like, I want to be a star. I want to be a star.
She is.
She's a star.
She just is. She naturally is. So. Thank you, listeners and watchers, wherever you may be.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Kimmie. Thank you, Donna. And everybody have a great time wherever you may be. Peace out.